They said these stories were just legends, whispers told around campfires. But what if I told you, they actually happened? Across every corner of the world, tales are told to keep us from wandering too far into the dark. Stories that remind us what happens when curiosity wins, when we step beyond the light. For years, these tales were dismissed, just folklore, just imagination. But time has a way of uncovering what people try to forget. Old police reports surface. Grainy photographs appear. Fragments of recordings re-emerge, and suddenly, the line between story and reality disappears. Some of these accounts were buried, hidden under decades of silence. Others were laughed off until witnesses started telling the same details again and again, people who'd never met, describing the same thing in the same way. A girl on a deserted road. A face watching from the dark. A creature that shouldn't exist, but somehow did. Tonight, we'll dive into 4 urban legends that escaped folklore and turned horrifyingly real. These aren't tales of fantasy, they are moments when imagination bled into truth. Stay till the end, because number 1 will make you question what's hiding in your own backyard. You might never hear a simple story the same way again. If you dare, hit that like button and tell me, would you still say these are just stories? A lonely road. A driver. A girl in white. And then, she disappears. It's one of the oldest tales in modern folklore. Every region has a version of it, a lost traveler who appears at the side of the road, drenched in rain, shivering, silent. Someone stops, offers a ride, and for a few short miles, there's only the hum of the engine and the sound of breathing in the dark. Then, without warning, she's gone. The seat is empty. The door never opened. This story has been passed around for generations, retold by truckers, students, even police officers. But this legend isn't just a story. The earliest documented accounts trace back to the 1930s in Chicago, along Archer Avenue. Locals called her Resurrection Mary. They said she was a young woman in a white party dress, wandering the roadside near a cemetery after midnight. Dozens of drivers reported picking her up, always the same description, the same pale face, the same quiet request, "Please, take me home." In the 1970s, the reports began again. This time, it wasn't just Chicago. The same encounters were recorded thousands of miles away, in Manila, in the Philippines. A taxi driver claimed he picked up a girl near Balit Drive. She was silent at first, her eyes fixed ahead. Then she whispered those same words, "Please, take me home." He followed her directions through narrow streets until she pointed to a gate. But when he turned to tell her they'd arrived, she was gone. He thought she had slipped out. He got out of the cab, walked to the door, and knocked. An old woman answered. When he described the passenger, her face drained of color. She led him inside, to a framed photograph on the wall. The same girl. The same white dress. The woman's daughter, who had died in a car accident on that same road 10 years earlier. The story made local headlines. Other drivers came forward, saying they'd seen her too. Some swore they felt her sitting beside them, the cold air in the car, the faint scent of flowers, a soft sigh in the back seat. Police investigated, but every time they tried to verify the route or the name she gave, they found nothing but dead ends. Was it coincidence? Shared imagination? Or something older than both cities, a ghost bound to the same story, replaying the same night forever? To this day, there are drivers who refuse to take that stretch of road alone after midnight. They say sometimes, through the fog, you'll see her again, standing under a broken streetlight, hand raised, waiting for a ride she'll never finish. But when he reached her house, the old woman said, her daughter died 10 years ago on that same road. Still think it's just a legend? She thought the truck driver behind her was insane, flashing his lights, honking, tailing her for miles. It was close to midnight. The highway stretched for miles, no other cars, no gas stations, just the long black road cutting through the empty fields. Rain had started to fall, thin at first, then heavier, streaking the windshield with silver lines. The driver, a young woman heading home from work, could feel her eyes growing heavy. She turned up the radio to stay awake. That's when she noticed the headlights in her mirror. At first, she thought the driver just wanted to pass. But every time she changed lanes, the truck followed. The lights flashed again. And again. A long, desperate honk. Her pulse quickened. She could feel that quiet panic, the kind that crawls into your chest and makes it hard to breathe. She gripped the steering wheel, eyes locked on the mirror, watching the truck grow larger behind her. This story, often told as a cautionary tale, has been whispered for decades, the legend of the killer in the back seat. It's said to have started with a real case from the early 1990s in Texas, when a woman driving home alone was followed by a trucker who refused to back off. Police reports confirm she sped through 2 towns before finally pulling into a gas station, terrified. The truck driver jumped out, waving his arms, yelling for her to lock the doors. But he wasn't trying to hurt her, he was trying to save her. When police arrived, they found the truth. In the back seat of her car was a man, a fugitive hiding under a blanket, clutching a knife. The trucker had seen his silhouette rising every time her headlights hit a curve. Each time he flashed his lights, it scared the man back down. If she had stopped sooner, she wouldn't have survived the night. But Texas wasn't the only place this happened. In 1993, in Johannesburg, South Africa, a similar report surfaced. A university student driving home after class noticed a car tailing her, its headlights flickering on and off. Panicked, she pulled into a police station. When officers searched her vehicle, they found a man crouched behind the passenger seat, armed with a crowbar. The driver following her was an off-duty officer who had seen the shadow move when she drove under a streetlight. According to the statement filed that night, quote, the suspect appeared to be waiting for the vehicle to stop at a traffic light or remote area before making his move. The man was later linked to several disappearances along the same road. Stories like these spread fast. People began checking their cars before driving, locking doors the moment they got in. Yet, even now, similar cases surface from time to time, brief mentions on late-night radio, anonymous posts online, whispers from police who still can't explain how some victims vanished without a trace. Imagine you're on that same road. The rain is falling harder. The truck is still behind you. The lights flash again, once, twice, blinding in the mirror. Your heart is pounding. You can't tell if the driver's warning you, or hunting you. What would you do if you saw headlights flashing behind you, run, or stop? Comment below if you've ever had a moment that made you lock your doors twice. It started as a joke, people said New York sewers were home to monsters. A story parents told to make kids stay out of the drains. But in February of 1935, sanitation workers found something alive. The rumor began in the early 1900s, when strange noises were heard beneath the streets of Manhattan. Residents complained of growls echoing through storm drains after heavy rain. At first, the city dismissed the stories. They called them coincidences, rats, water pressure, machinery. But the reports didn't stop. And one winter morning, while clearing a clogged sewer line on East 123rd Street, a worker's shovel hit something soft, and it moved. When they shone their flashlights into the muck, the beam caught 2 tiny eyes, reflective, unblinking. At first, they thought it was a dog. Then it opened its mouth. A small alligator, nearly 3 feet long, pale from lack of sunlight. It thrashed wildly as they pulled it out, snapping at the workers' boots before disappearing into the water again. The incident made the New York Times. February 10, 1935. Headline, Alligator Found in Uptown Sewer. City officials laughed it off, calling it an oddity, nothing more. But weeks later, 2 more sightings were reported in different tunnels. Each time, the creatures vanished before they could be caught. The stories multiplied, feeding the legend that baby alligators flushed down toilets had survived, grown, and adapted to life underground. By the 1950s, the idea of sewer alligators had become an American myth. Cartoons, movies, comic strips, they all played on the same joke. But behind the humor, reports continued. Workers spoke of strange shadows moving through the tunnels, larger than rats, faster than dogs. They described slime-covered walls clawed with deep scratches, and water that churned when no one was near. It wasn't a rat, a retired sewer worker once told a local paper in 1957. We saw its tail. Thick. Black. It hit the water and was gone before the light reached it. In 2010, a team of urban explorers entered a restricted section of tunnel beneath the Lower East Side. They carried cameras, lights, and masks, determined to prove the legend wrong. The footage they captured was grainy, but unmistakable. A flash of movement across the pipe. A tail, too long for a rat, too thick for a snake. The explorers heard splashing, then silence. One of them swore they saw eyes reflecting in the beam, too high above the waterline to belong to anything small. When city inspectors later reviewed the site, the floor was covered in slime. The walls, slick with an oily film. But no creature was found. The explorers' footage was reportedly turned over to authorities for analysis. It was never made public. Experts still argue about what's down there. Mutated reptiles? Deformed wildlife from decades of chemical runoff? Or something else, something that adapted in the dark, untouched by sunlight or time? But when they went back for it, the tunnel was empty. And the footage? Never released to the public. Born from the internet's dark corners, a faceless figure known only as Slender Man. He wasn't part of any old folktale or ancient curse. He was created in 2009, a photoshopped image posted on an online forum called Something Awful. A tall, thin man in a black suit, face smooth and empty, standing in the background of children's photographs. At first, it was a joke, part of a contest to make the most convincing paranormal image. But something about that blank face stuck. Within weeks, the story evolved. Users began writing their own encounters. Videos appeared, shaky footage of figures in forests, security cameras catching glimpses behind playgrounds. People shared drawings of Slender Man with impossibly long arms reaching toward children. And as the stories spread, he became more than fiction. He became a shared nightmare. Online forums called him the Watcher. They said he lived in abandoned woods, that he followed those who believed in him. The more you read about him, the closer he came. Then, in 2014, the story escaped the screen. It happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin. 3 12-year-old girls, best friends. They'd spent months reading Slender Man's stories online, trading drawings, whispering his name at sleepovers. But for 2 of them, the stories weren't just fun anymore. They believed. On May 31st, they invited their friend for a walk in the woods. It was supposed to be a game, hide and seek. But deep among the trees, the laughter stopped. The woods went quiet. Then, one of the girls pulled out a kitchen knife. They stabbed their friend 19 times. She survived, barely, crawling to a nearby path where a cyclist found her, bleeding and whispering that her friends had done it for Slender Man. When police found the 2 attackers hours later, they were walking along a highway, heading toward a place they called Slender Man's Mansion. They said he lived in the Nicolet National Forest, hundreds of miles away, and that if they killed their friend, he would take them in and protect their families. Interrogation tapes revealed their calmness, 2 children, speaking with absolute conviction. They described him as tall, faceless, watching. They said they'd seen him in dreams, standing by their beds. The trial shook the country. Psychologists described a shared delusion, a case where imagination bled into reality so deeply that the line disappeared. Slender Man, a creature made from pixels and stories, had influenced real human behavior. He'd stepped out of the screen. One girl was found mentally ill and institutionalized. The other, sentenced but later committed for treatment. And the victim, she lived. But she would forever carry the scars of something that wasn't supposed to exist. Slender Man wasn't real, but belief made him real enough to destroy lives. Maybe urban legends aren't born, maybe we create them. We give them names, stories, faces, and they grow in the shadows we leave unguarded. For legends. For real horrors. A girl who vanishes on a rain-soaked road, a driver stalked by the thing hiding behind her, something alive crawling beneath our cities, and a faceless man born from the internet's shadows. Each story began as a whisper, a campfire tale, a post on a forgotten forum, a rumor passed from one voice to another. But somewhere between words and belief, they crossed a line. From haunted highways to the dark corners of the web, every lie has a little truth buried inside it. Maybe we tell these stories to explain what we don't understand, or maybe, to warn each other of what's real. So tell me, which one do you think was the scariest? Or worse, which one do you think is still happening somewhere, tonight? And remember, the next time someone tells you an urban legend, maybe it's not a story. Maybe, it's a warning.